So hello there and welcome back to the channel. This is Mels Gaming, here with a Cabela'S African Adventures video. Now this is going to be the only video about this game here on the channel, as in this video we are going for 100% achievements in this game. Now this is something I've been doing a lot recently, is playing older hunting games and going for 100% achievements. And I did manage to get my hands on a couple of older Cabela'S games, this being one of them. Now, I am playing this through Steam, and basically I'm just going to talk about what this game was like, and you'll see in the background me getting a couple of achievements, going on different hunts, etc, etc. So, I did play this on Steam, but this game isn't actually available to buy on Steam anymore, as a number of the games that I've been playing recently basically aren't. So what I had to do in order to be able to get this game and play it on Steam is actually buy a code from an external website, then put it into Steam, and then I could play it. I got this from G2A, and since I got it, the price has gone up a lot, exponentially. I think it's 3 or 4 times the price now that I paid for it, so I'm glad I got it when I did, because honestly this game was an experience. It was not what I was expecting at all from, what I had heard about it and stuff. It was a fun game, but maybe not what I would prefer to see from a hunting game in a lot of aspects. So, there was a lot of stuff I enjoyed, having super aggressive animals and stuff like these Cape Buffalo here at the start, having some of the, alpha animals, which, for something like a Cape Buffalo, having an alpha Cape Buffalo, it's not really realistic. Okay, having a dominant bull in a herd would make more sense, but the way things were worded about certain species in the game was not entirely realistic, but it was a lot of fun, stuff like this, like taking on a huge Cape Buffalo bull like this. It was fun, and, some crazy ragdoll physics and stuff like that, and there was a lot of cool looking achievements to get, like hunting the Big 5, hunting the Dangerous 7, lots of really cool things. However, the story aspect of this game was something I was really not keen on. I really disliked the main characters throughout this. The only human character in this game that I liked was the lady that you end up talking to. I forget her name, but she actually is working with the locals and talks about their lives and stuff, whereas the main guy you play as is really not that nice of a person until the very end, and the guy you're working for, it's just all kind of weird, and I wasn't a big fan of it. And, I like a hunting game to be a hunting game, and actually talking about hunting in a sort of more realistic way. It doesn't have to be totally realistic, because obviously it is a game, but there were just some ways that certain things that were talked about made me a little bit uncomfortable. So that aspect of it I really disliked. But certain moments like this, hunting what was the alpha leopard in the dark in a cave like this, was a really cool moment. And there were a lot of moments throughout this where I was thinking, oh, this could be a really cool encounter for something like a great one in the Hunter Call of the Wild. Imagine, a great one leopard that hangs out in a dark cave like this and is hyper aggressive, and you've got to try and get a good shot on it. Stuff like that was what I was thinking about as I was playing through, and, trying to get all the way through this game to get all of the achievements. And I liked that there was actually quite a few different designs for the animals for different species. Even not the alphas, but other members of the species would have unique variants. But it was funny because this definitely did feel more like an action game than a hunting game, because if you paid attention to the coat colours of certain animals, you'd notice that they'd have differing attacks based on like their coat colour. So for things like the leopards, there was some that had like a paler coat with a darker stripe down the back. Those would like try and jump on you, whereas like the normal sort of common coloured leopards would just charge you. And so you kind of knew what to expect attack-wise based on like the animal's coat, which made it feel more like, you know, sort of a fighting game like any other game with enemies, as opposed to a hunting game where they can all do the same thing. It just depends on the situation. So it was definitely something that I wasn't used to in terms of any other hunting game I played. It's honestly completely different even to the other Cabela's games that I'd seen. It just felt so vastly different to what I am used to, like playing hunting games. But what I also really enjoyed was getting to hunt things like elephants and rhinos and leopards and lots of different species that just aren't in modern hunting games. And honestly, it's been a big frustration point of mine that a lot of these animals aren't in modern hunting games. Because, like I said, I like my hunting games to be more on the realistic side in terms of like the actual hunting mechanics. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of these boss style type fights with some of these alpha animals, like this alpha elephant, but I do like being able to experience going into these different environments and hunting these different animals. Like, I would really like to be able to hunt elephants, rhinos, etc., in modern hunting games, because at the end of the day, it's a game, it's not affecting any kind of real life population. So regardless as to whether that animal is endangered or, you know, for some species, I don't even mind having extinct things in hunting games. You know, anything just to make it more interesting and more fun in terms of the species diversity that you have to hunt, I'm all for. I just like the actual hunting mechanics of stalking up close to your prey to be more realistic than, you know, sort of fighting with them like this. I do like aggressive encounters with animals. Like, it's fun to have a rhino charge you or an elephant charge you, but I don't like having to put 50 shots into it to kill it. Do you know what I mean? I like that bit to be more realistic. But there were also, like, side missions with things like hyenas, sable, nyala, zebra, and more. Like, there were so many cool species, and I want to be able to hunt them in modern hunting games. And here we actually get the Africa's Big Boy achievements to hunt the big five: leopard, lion, rhino, elephant, and buffalo. Which, again, I want to have the big five in modern hunting games, you know? And there's also an achievement in this game which I got just as I was roaming around to hunt the Dangerous Seven, which is basically all of the same species that are in the Big Five, plus hippo and crocodile. But those aren't like the only sort of slams of African animals. There's the spiral horn slam, which includes things like greater kudu, and then there's the tiny 10, which is, you know, hunting the tiniest antelope. I want to see these things in more modern hunting games, and that's all I could think the whole time I'm playing this, is give me a game with all of these species, with updated graphics, where I can actually go and hunt them, and give me things like rare ones, albinos, melanistics, piebalds, etc. I just desperately want that. But also then talk about the conservation and real life threats facing these species at the same time, and, you know, really talk about how hunting can help to actually conserve species, which again is something that I felt this game really lacked talking about. Like, it was, the storyline, like I said, was just so odd, and I really didn't enjoy the storyline itself. The game and like gameplay was fun, not my style for a hunting game, but I don't know, I really want a lot of the things that this game had in terms of species in modern hunting games, and I hope that eventually a game is going to say, do you know what, let's do it. Let's add rhinos, hippos, elephants, giraffe. Because I don't really see the controversy aspect of it. Because to me, like, you can go and play plenty of games where you can, you know, harm humans. And people seem to think that's okay because it's a video game. So why can't I hunt a pixel elephant or a pixel rhino, whilst also, you know, that having a conservation storyline? I think that's something that would be really cool, and maybe even help to bring, like, understanding and attention to the way that hunting can help conservation issues for people that don't know about it. Because when I first had an interest in hunting, I actually used to be anti-hunting in every way, shape and form. And it was only through, you know, doing my own research and stuff that I actually learned about how it can impact conservation. And I did a lot of, you know, reading, talking to actual hunters, conservationists who work in these environments and with these animals. And then you come to realise everything's not as black and white as a lot of your, you know, your news articles and stuff would make it out to be about hunters and hunting. And a lot of issues are actually talking about poaching and then labelling as, you know, labelling poachers and hunters as the same thing. So I just want to see more of that in video games. But also then that allows the inclusion of really cool species and really cool environments and really cool moments. This was really cool. This was the last alpha animal to take down, the black cloud, the alpha lion. That was a really cool moment, having him up there on the top of that cliff. Some of the cutscenes for this game were really awesome. Like I said, the story itself, which for the story elements, it went to like a sort of a drawn style slideshow of things rather than actual cutscenes. But the actual cutscenes with the animals looked really cool to me. I thought they were really, really awesome. Now, moving on towards the end of this video, and we're going to be taking a look at a couple of the last achievements I had to get. That Justice Keeper one was actually the last achievement I needed for the entire game. But we're going to take a look at a couple of achievements that weren't actually in the main game. These were in the shooting gallery. And this one here was the most painful achievement I have had to get in any game I've gone for 100% in so far. This achievement was called Efficiency to the Max, and you had to kill every single animal that spawned there between the two shooting gates. So basically, for the shooting galleries, there's like gates that would unlock once you met the requirements. You can see there the sort of blue veil that was on the left-hand side, and basically you just had to shoot enough animals for that gate to unlock normally, and then you can pass through. So you can see gate opened. This was my first time going through it. But to get every single one of the zebra and those birds that spawned was so hard. I was there for like an hour and a half or more just on that tiny section trying to get every single one of those animals, because so it was just so quick. The first flock of geese you could normally get pretty easily. The first herd of zebra, just 3 zebra, yep, pretty easy. But then it would be 5 zebra and then an even bigger flock of geese. Just so quickly, and trying to get those within that very short period of time with the, I'll admit, slightly odd shooting mechanics was so difficult. So difficult. And like, I was losing my mind at just having to redo that tiny section over and over again. And I looked at multiple guides and they all said that was the best place to get that achievement. And honestly, it was just such a pain. That was the bit that took the longest out of all of the achievements, aside from, you know, like finishing the entire main story. That one was just a real pain. And I'm so glad I managed to do it, because there was a point there where I was like, I'm never going to do this. I've been doing this like tiny section of a few seconds over and over again. I'm seriously thinking I'm never going to be able to do it. But the shooting gallery aspect is another fun part of this game. Like, I actually quite enjoyed this being something in the game, because I've always kind of wanted a hunting game with like a driven hunt aspect to it. Maybe not quite like this, where it is literally just a shooting gallery, but I've always kind of wanted a mode where it was like a driven hunt, maybe in like a Germany setting, for something like Wild Boar, and then, you know, you have like people flush some animals and then you can sit in a shooting stand and have animals flush towards you, and maybe have it as a competitive mode with friends or something. I always thought that would be something as a fun change of pace, I thought. But you will see we did get one of the other achievements that you needed to get in the shooting gallery, which was a real mix, to take down 4 species one after the other. And I did end up losing all my health and dying there, because you can see I only have a certain amount of health, and those hyenas do quite a bit of damage when they jump up at you like that. And it's all happening so quickly. Like, this is not what I'm used to in a hunting game, where I'm just being absolutely, like, attacked from every angle by lots of predators. Again, a really interesting change from what I'm used to. And as we come towards the end of the video, I do want to say this was a really fun game at the end of the day to get 100% on. It's not something I plan on ever going back and playing again. Now I have 100% and, you know, I've done everything in this game. I've shot all the trophy animals possible, all the different species. But it did give me a lot of perspective on, you know, when people are talking about Cabela'S African adventures and, you know, their experiences with this game and wanting to see some of these things in more modern hunting games. Like, it helped me to see what people meant by that, because I could definitely see it. Things like having packs of hyenas and, you know, rhinos, elephants, nyala, sable, zebra, all of the cool species that were included in this game. I definitely agree, would love to see those in a more modern hunting game, just with a different vibe and a different message about the animals themselves and the environment and everything that really goes into that, not just not just a shooting gallery kind of game like this actually basically is. It's more of an action game than a hunting game, would be my final sort of review of this. If you can get your hands on it, you know, relatively cheap, then I would recommend playing it if it's something you're interested in, because it's definitely, like I said, an interesting experience if you only have experience with modern hunting games. But if you can only get it for the prices I've seen since I bought this, which wasn't that long ago, maybe something to just watch rather than play, especially if you're more focused on realism, because that is something this game does not do very well. And there we get the controlled fire achievement to shoot all of the animals on one of these shooting gallery levels with the correct ammo. So basically, don't shoot the mammals with the shotgun and don't shoot the birds with the rifle. And yeah, that's it. I didn't obviously include all of the achievements because there was a number of achievements that were just like getting collectibles, finding all the fossils, getting all the gun upgrades, stuff like that. But this was a fun game to play through. Like I said, it's given me some extra perspective, which is something that I have been really wanting, like with going forward and playing all these older hunting games, so that when we're looking at newer hunting games, I've got sort of more things to compare certain things to that might have been done in the past, and talk about things that I'd like to see done in the future. And this definitely was a really, really interesting one. But that is going to be it for this video. I really, really hope you have enjoyed it. It actually took a lot of work to do this one because I having to try and get my hands on a code for this, and that, you know, wasn't the easiest to try and get it at a decent price, and then working on the various achievements, trying to get it to run and everything. So it's been an interesting one to get this one done. But I know that there's quite a few of you that have talked about playing this, so I am definitely going to be keen to hear like the different discussions that will go on in the comments about what you think about certain aspects of this. But yeah, thank you so much for watching and all your support as always, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.